Hey everyone, so with me today I have Dave Collier from Nobius UK. Dave, do a brief introduction please.
Hi Arthurs, Dave Collier from Nobius UK. Nobius have been a Zabbix partner now for a few years. We came about as historically Nobius and the Nobius team have worked for many decades, 30, 40 years experience in IT monitoring. And we've come across organizations large and small who've spent literally millions in some cases on monitoring tools and licenses that, well, to be honest, they were sold a solution, but they only use 40% of the solution.
That's the way it usually goes, yeah.
Isn't it? And so, based on that, we came across Zabbix, and we were working with Zabbix in some of our accounts. We were formed just purely to help relieve those costs out of some of the mainstream vendors. I'll not name them, but some of the big vendors, and take that cost out of monitoring, because at the end of the day it's all about the quality of the data pipeline that you get in, and yes, frankly Zabbix is just about the most comprehensive tool for getting data to do monitoring.
And also transform data.
To take that data and get it from anywhere and do anything with it. And that's the foundation of brilliant monitoring. So that's what we do. So it's not just the techie stuff, it's the how to implement, with the ITIL and IT for IT processes.
Yeah. So before we continue and discuss some use cases that we agreed upon discussing before, I just wanted, because you gave a really nice intro, I wanted to ask about monitoring and open source in the UK a bit. So open source, the paradigm around it and the discourse around it, it can be different depending on the region, right? So we're here in Latvia. The situation with open source is probably a whole different thing than it is in the UK. So maybe you can just talk a bit about how do people feel about open source? Companies, governmental organizations?
That's a very, very interesting question, because we're seeing a change in attitude. Okay, so in the UK market there are a lot of financial institutions, and they typically avoided open source. Okay, that is changing now, because whether they like it or not, they're probably running their business on some form of open source anyway.
Most of the time is the case. People just don't know.
They just don't know. Exactly. So we're evangelizing open source and the community approach, and we are noticing a definite change to more open source. Not just in monitoring, but in other areas as well. Because I think a lot of people are finally realizing that they're spending an awful lot of money not using the functionality, investing an awful lot of time and effort that they're not getting business benefit from. So, when you've been paying so much money for so long, you start to think, where is my return on investment?
Yes.
What
am I paying for? What am I getting out of it?
But the other thing that's changed, and it's really important, really important, is the changing attitude of the open source community themselves. So, I mean, we're here in Riga, in the Zabbix offices. I've had a great tour of the offices. You've got so many developers, sales, marketing. It's no longer people sat in a bedroom eating pizza, drinking coffee.
Yes.
It is a very
five guys in a garage.
We have that highly professional. It's you got to come and visit to see the level of it, and that is getting out there now in the market, and people are saying, we should be listening to these guys, because this software has come from a place where it's been used. It has been tested to destruction. Everybody can see the source code. Yes,
that's a big benefit, right? Transparency, the age of security breaches, and malicious actors trying to find entry points into your infrastructure.
Exactly.
Transparency is key.
Yeah. So you have all that transparency, and the open source side of it is I find it's no comfort blanket, if you like, because I can talk to you, I can talk to your colleagues, and I don't have to raise faceless calls to tech support people. I can get answers, and that gives me a warmth, and it gives my customers a warmth as well. So that's the difference. So it's not just attitudes of the market to open source. It's the attitude I am seeing of open source to the market, so especially with
both
Zabbix.
ways.
Both ways, absolutely.
And speaking of open source, and you also mentioned costs, we discussed a bit before this meeting, we discussed on-premise versus cloud, right? And nowadays it's sort of a thing that's happening. The trendy thing is to migrate to a cloud. No matter if you need it or if you don't need it, it's a trendy thing, right?
Yeah, this transformation word. Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, we've come across smaller customers that we work with who just want a very basic on-premise solution. We have smaller customers who want cloud. We have bigger customers who want cloud, bigger customers who want on-premise. We're finding a real mix at the moment. And Nobius, we've deployed Zabbix AWS Azure with high availability before version 6, but high availability with all the technical stuff that went around with that. And we're finding now that it's probably like 50-50. And the reasons I get for 50-50 between cloud and on-premise is people want to own their monitoring data. They still don't trust it to the cloud.
Yes.
Okay. There are certainly in some markets, if I want to put it on a cloud, I have to assure it's in London. I can't have the data in Europe, especially with Brexit and all that nightmare. So I'm kind of seeing a 50-50 mix. And I'm also seeing people asking for my and my team's opinion on where they should put it. And that's really good because that's the consultative approach. Zabbix works equally well.
Yeah,
cloud,
it doesn't really matter. Containers, cloud, on-premises, bare metal, virtual machines. Yeah.
I mean, one thing I would say, and this is just personal experience, I know different countries have different experiences. There's a lot of interest in Kubernetes, in Docker, containers, things like that. But in the UK, there is, for monitoring side of things, they still quite like virtual machines or physical. I don't know why that is. Perhaps, I don't know, perhaps the whole monitoring side of thing is still a little bit siloed in the UK. So the like the DevOps type of thing. I don't know. It's just a personal impression that we get, but I'm sure that'll change.
And speaking about costs, so there's also this opinion, if I'm going on premises, I have to buy all the hardware, right? And then I have to make sure I have engineers in place that take care of it, maintenance, so on and so on. So would you say the cloud is pretty much always cheaper?
Not always cheaper. No, it depends. It depends how we configure technically. So just to give you an example, we had a solution where we had to accept into Zabbix emails from other systems, so incoming emails, not Zabbix. So, and those and this was on an AWS cloud. The emails were stored on an Amazon S3, but we wanted to keep the emails for a period of time.
Yes.
Okay. So the problem, and we were hands up, guys. Everybody makes mistakes. One of the problems was the amount of S3 storage that we used
for those emails.
Just for the emails was kind of outstripping the costs of running the infrastructure but that was one of the things. So you have to keep a careful eye on costs on cloud.
Essentially, ideally during the design stages.
Ideally during the design stages,
especially with emails, I think it seems so innocent, right? How much data am I going to get? Hundreds of megabytes, a couple of gigabytes.
Yeah, but if you're reading because with AWS, you don't get charged for so much writing the data to S3. You get charged every time you read the data.
Right. Yeah. I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
But that's just one of the areas that is a natural mistake. The design that we were asked to put in place.
Yeah, you live and you learn. Next time you'll know. You'll learn to recognize such a use case. Yeah. We've had a great conversation and we haven't even moved to the topics that we discussed before. Yeah, so moving on, we've talked for quite a bit about actually things that we didn't agree to talk about. But one thing that I wanted to discuss and I wanted to get out of you during the speech is some interesting use case with Zabbix and monitoring that you guys have deployed. And I know you mentioned something about CCTV cameras, an interesting sort of approach to monitoring them. So maybe you can describe the use case to me.
Yeah, sure. The use case, I mean, there's a lot of closed circuit television cameras out there from various manufacturers. They are all connected into video recorders. These cameras and the video recorders, they often support Linux in one way, shape or form, or as a network device would support SNMP.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So we've applied that technology and the support that Zabbix has for SNMP as a natively to be able to detect, to handle motion detection. We're not interested in capturing images at all.
Yeah.
We want to know if the camera is working, if the disk is full, and things like whether somebody has smashed the camera off the wall.
Yeah, the state of the camera
itself. The state of the camera. And so we started off with SNMP, and then we realized that most of these also contain APIs.
Oh, right. I wouldn't have thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem SNMP, okay.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Makes sense.
But actually a full-fledged API that you can communicate with?
Full-fledged API that you can communicate. So a few web scenarios in there to pull out the data. And manage that, and we can manage at camera level and we can manage at video recorder level. And with the security that we've got with SNMP v3 and also with proxies, okay, we can have multiple, literally hundreds of sites with potentially dozens of
proxy
cameras.
On each site, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and we're good to go. So that was completely there's no IT as such in there. There's a protocol, okay? And it's a camera, and it's great. It's working a treat, absolutely wonderful, and it's quite easy to set up.
And a question from my side is, did you manage to automate it in some way? For example, to either network discovery or low-level discovery or something like that?
Yeah. We've used low-level discovery because some of the sites are restricted sites.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't want to be running pings across networks. It causes all kinds of flags. But what we do uses low-level discovery. So we do low-level discovery to discover the number of cameras. We do low-level discovery to discover the number of ports connected to the camera. And low-level discovery for the number of disks in the recorder. And all that kind of stuff. So we use low-level discovery. We have all the item prototypes. So in essence, the customer would basically plug in the proxy active. Yeah.
And then discover the disks, discover the ports, and start monitoring them.
It all happens. It all happens.
What a joy! It's magic. It's essentially magic.
Automagically.
Automagic. Yeah, I love that word. That's a great word. And I think low-level discovery for newbies, it can be a bit intimidating. I think
it can.
But once you figure it out, once it clicks for you, that's when the magic happens. You realize, oh, I can discover this and that, and I just have to create a discovery rule and a prototype. Maybe do some pre-processing if you're getting data in some weird format, and you're good to go.
You're good to go, and you can use the same template structure to apply it to multiple different configurations. Yeah, it's great.
Works like a charm. Yeah, so I think we've had a great conversation today about open source, about use case, about clouds and cost and things like that. And it was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much for your time.
Hope to see you more during the summit, right?
Absolutely.
In October, we have the summit coming up and other meetings, so maybe we'll have more of these interviews.
Look forward to it, Artis. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.